Hello and welcome to In a Flash, a photo and video weekly recap news show from Around the Lens. I'm your host, David J. Murphy.
Yeah, I'm Travis Keys.
And we're going to talk about news for the next 30 minutes or so in the world of photo and video and all that's good. Let's get right into it and talk about Google. In case you didn't know, Google Photos has been offering free uploads of your photos and videos in a sort of reduced, compressed quality for like years now. And I've used the service sort of to automatically back up my phone photos, but I haven't really done much more with it than that because, again, you know, if I'm going to back up my stuff, I want the highest quality possible. Well, Google recently announced that they're no longer going to offer their service for free. And instead, you will have to pay for it, you know, through your own storage and whatnot. So just want to let everybody know, if you've got photos and you want to find a free place to back them up, you got until the end of the month to do that on Google, and then you have to pay for it. How about you, Travis? You use something like this? Have you used Google Photos for backup?
I mean, I do use Google. It's sort of like a third, fourth, fifth, backup down the ranks. Google, you know, is one of those famous people to come out with, you know, great stuff and then either kill it or drop it or change it. I don't know why. You know, from Google Voice to all the stuff they do, it's just, you know, they come out with this great stuff, and no, it's not even about money. Sometimes they just, you know, come out with stuff and you know and change. And the one thing about Google is, I mean, now if you put up everything early now, like you could do a mass upload right now and it'll be grandfathered in. But you know, then it's kind of, you know, if you have stuff to do, you can do that. I tend to go with, since I pay for Amazon Prime has tons of add-ons, and they have unlimited, unrestricted, you know, full file backload for now. And they haven't changed that, and I don't know, you know, maybe they will one day, but for now they certainly haven't changed it, haven't talked about changing it. So I definitely stick with my Amazon Prime and Amazon as a backup for those kind of things, as well as, like, you know, I have, you know, Backblaze for deep backup of my drives and all that kind of stuff.
I will say I have hit a limit with the the Amazon Photos backup. So I shoot everything in RAW on my Canon R5. And sometimes it creates files that are over 50 megabytes per file. And I've noticed that Amazon Photos won't back up files that are larger than 50 megabytes. Have you noticed that?
You're an Amazon Prime member?
I am Amazon Prime. I've been using the Amazon Prime Photos, and it's like, this is a recent thing because I normally back up JPEG. So
yeah. I haven't seen that, but I'll have to take a look. I don't tend to, you know, because I have most of my stuff goes to NAS and other, you know, cloud backups, but that's like a third backup for me, so I'll take a look at that. That's interesting.
Yeah, something to keep in mind, especially if you shoot a lot of RAW or have a lot of high resolution files. You know, you want to make sure that stuff's backed up. But you know, with Google, like for, you know, same as you. Like I just have it as a third location or so that allows me to back up my stuff. And with me moving actually back to the States, I mean, having everything backed up is extremely important to me. And I started backing up back when I first heard this news a few months ago when they announced it. So I've now gone through more than half of my catalog of 20 years worth of work. And one thing they don't mention in the story that I think is you know, very important is that you can also back up video. You know, you can back up high resolution video up to 4K, and it'll archive it for free as well. It'll be a compressed version of the video. So like, it's not going to archive your 8K original format video, but it will reduce it sometimes to 1080, sometimes to 4K. But still, in just ensuring you have that video, because normally we don't back up video, right? It's just too memory intensive to really back up, you know, unless you're like creating multiple hard drives. Is that what you're doing for your video?
With their camera phones and everything, shooting tons of family video and all kinds of video, you know, vacation video from their phones, which are, you know, these phones shoot great video nowadays. You'd want to back that stuff up.
Yeah, so if it's something you're interested, get on it before it goes away.
Yeah. In another story this week, Orbitivu Studios has created a fully automated product and fashion photography. It's basically a studio all built in one. It has, you know, it's kind of wild. And, you know, I think what's cool about it is that if you're someplace like maybe, you know, an Amazon or a Google that's, you know, creating a lot of stuff for their, you know, more so in Amazon that, you know, has stores that need to create, you know, photos of that repeat, you know, because they have so many products and so many things that they sell, to just have something that recreates, but it's a studio basically that has front lights. It's almost a giant product box. So you have studio, key lights in the front, fill lights in the back, overhead lights, and it's almost it's a box stand with a pull down screen. There's a camera up front that's on a dolly track that can rise and tilt, and an operator that kind of does this all. So you can do video and photos on this and repeat the process, and it's pretty amazing. It's cool, and it's logical that it exists, because it's someone that's has a full line of 20 items or 50 items can come in and have the model it's laser targeting, so it can repeat the same kind of shot on one after another after another. Have you seen this? I mean, it seems like nothing that we would use, but it's good for certain applications, I would assume.
Yeah, it's something that kind of sprung me as like, very niche in terms of its need, like especially the product photography aspect. I was talking to a friend of mine who bought a little light box thing, just a little pop-up white
I have one of
box.
those.
Yeah, I mean, that's very easy and relatively, cheap to purchase. This though, this is kind of like the nth degree of it, right? And basically it has like a turntable. What I like about it is it's the automatic functionality. So it'll automatically remove the background, automatically turn and give
The
you a
large one
360.
doesn't have a turntable for I don't think for the models and stuff like that.
No, not the studio.
Ones.
Yeah.
The studio one is pretty wild. I mean, just
right.
you just look at this giant installed box with LED lights that turn and all kinds of stuff. It's pretty cool. It's if you have the space and need to do that type of cranking it out every day,
I wonder how much something like that would cost.
That's what it didn't. That wasn't in the art, but I have to assume it's a pretty penny.
Well, I mean, I'm thinking to myself, could I build something like this? And I think if you take, just talk about the lights and the backdrop and everything, you could probably build something like this for about $1,000. I think.
The actual setting, like the box, easily set. But with the camera and the operator and the software and stuff like that, that's something that was a little more niche to this unit. With the laser targeting and dolly tracks, and of course you could build it. It's something that's been around already, but this is kind of streamlined into the I think more of the software and part of it.
Well, as someone who does more studio photography than I do, and more portraiture and stuff like that, I mean, does something like this interest you? Would you be intrigued and want to use something like this?
If I shot, if I was just really kind of cranking one thing out of, lookbook shots and product shots and, and stuff that would just, kind of generic, over, but the stuff I shoot is a little more, stylized and set and movement, so I'll take the camera, go to the side. So it's not just like I'm shooting straight. It has to be this look, this type lighting. It's like I'm a little all over the place for what I do.
Yeah, no, this is like, hey, I've got a subject who has to wear half a dozen outfits, and I've got studio space for 30 minutes, and they got to like quickly change into new outfits. And I'm just, like you said, product photography. So
it's just
body product photography.
Like in film, where they have now the wonderful robotic arms and cameras, so they can repeat actions and shots to mask and stuff and stuff like that. So it's a great thing too. If you have to do a ton of different products, you can just repeat it and nail it. And it takes all the work out of it. And it's a setup that's always there. So you just turn it on and kind of just put your model in and go to work.
That's right. And I'm sure if you shot those photos, you'd want to ensure that they were properly copywritten, because that, of course, is always important. Put your stuff out there, and people are going to steal it, and they're going to represent, you, and they're going to take away your stuff and potentially make money off of your work. So you have to protect your stuff. And we've talked about copyright and how do you protect your imagery many, many times on this channel. But a new article from Petapixel kind of posits that really photography and photographers should have the same type of capability and control to detect copyright infringement that the major music labels and the major film companies have. Like you put something on YouTube that has 10 seconds of a popular song,
you see how quick
or whatever
that gets pulled, right?
Or film, you're gonna get demonetized, you're gonna get a copyright strike. But somebody takes your photo and uses it in their video, you're never gonna know unless you're like looking at that videographer.
It's true. It's amazing how quick now that music and video that gets flagged, and
it's
they don't show the same love for the same creative process and the same. It's basically it's the same thing, doing creating a photo,
Yeah.
just because it's still and not moving.
Yeah.
And what's kind of cool is that they started to, in this article they talked about NFTs and how that
Yeah.
you can kind of put that in and track it and and put money to it. And so the ability to sign and authenticate it was really amazing. And I think that's something that could be tied into photography, and it's really important. And also it's going to take away the cheapening of photography now that everybody can just share and put it out there so quickly. If there's some kind of repercussion or making that one photo authentic and tie it back to someone, maybe they can't do that anymore, and it's going to bring the value back to photography.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, this article posits that essentially, the film and music industry are huge, right? And they have big guns to go after YouTube. But the photo industry, what do you got? Like Reuters, you got, Getty and stuff. I don't know. Are they, trying to get after this type of stuff? Obviously, there's, they have means by which to find imagery if you copyright it or if you copy it and put it on your blog, right? And websites, and whatnot. But, to find it in video. And what actually is,
what's funny that you say that is, Getty and Reuters, well, especially Getty's, they go after and protect themselves so they make money, but they don't really do it for their photographer as much. It's about them retaining the money, and it's
so you and me, Travis, we got to do it for all photographers. The Around the Lens company is going to throw its weight around.
Exactly. We're going to protect you all. We will fight for each and every one of you.
And speaking of fighting, I actually, I'm a little bit of a fighter myself, because whenever I'm watching like a YouTube video and I see somebody use, copywritten imagery from like a stock house, and they use it with the watermark still on it, which, by the way, if you're making videos, do the bare minimum and license the image so you don't have to use the watermarked image. I hate it when I see this big YouTuber with like 1 million subscribers and like hundreds of thousands of views, who I know can afford to license a stock image, and they still use a stock image with the watermark on it. I'm just like, ugh. So anyways, I report those people. I do not care. How dare
there are
they?
some people that think they've bought it and just don't know how to download download the watermarked image, which I've seen some of my clients do. It's like, you purchased that image from me, and you can, you have a pin and you can download the one that's non-watermarked. Like, I don't know how to do it. Why didn't you ask?
My God.
So moving on to our next story. Here we go. Is the DSLR really dead?
Yes.
And this is kind of a good question. And I know there's lots of people having answers for this, and a lot of devotees that would say absolutely never going to die. I love this, and they'd be lost without it. But, but you have Canon saying they're going to put all their money and research into their, their R5 line and R6 and not develop a new 5D Mark IV and stuff like that. You have a lot of people asking, is it dead? And what do you think?
Yeah, 100%. It's going the way of the Dodo. You can still buy a film camera, right? You can go out, you can buy, not a new film camera, but you can buy used film cameras. Film cameras will still exist. Film will still exist. DSLRs will still exist. But as far as like research and development, no. Canon, Nikon, Sony, they're not going to invest any more money in research and development. I mean, it's hard enough to make money in the camera industry as it is, with dwindling sales. They can't afford to focus on a dying technology.
Well, it's funny that you bring it up. Sony actually just discontinued. Can I say that properly? Sony has finally discontinued their last of its DSLRs.
Yeah.
Just recently, they killed off their alpha line. Yeah, the A line, should I say, because not to be confused with the alpha mirrorless. Their A99s, A77s, A68s, they're gone. So Sony is going full in on mirrorless, and not those lenses that you have and stuff like that for your A cameras, if you still have it and stuff like that. Well, hold on to them.
Yeah, I know, right?
now they're something that is a well, it's gone. It's gone, man. It's gone.
I know, right? Well, mirrorless, or the mirror, I should say, in DSLRs was always a hack, right? It was always just a way to get the image to your eye, and it was just sort of a mechanism that we all, accepted, because that's how it was, and that was the best way to do it at the time. And the mirrorless is the next evolution in that whole image, processing and acquiring process. Well, there'll be something maybe down the road that will replace mirrorless. Who knows? But I mean, do you even have any mirrored cameras in your collection, or are they all gone?
I still have my 5D Mark IV.
Okay.
So I still use it. It's still a great camera. I mean, it's For what? I tend to find in event type situations with the flash run and gun that just because the mirrorless lines have not really nailed it with their flash event work, because the one thing that these, you know, that you find in a DSLR, because I guess it has something to do with the red IR, the mirrorless not picking up that red properly. When you're using a flash on a mirror, on a mirrored camera, it shoots out that red beam that acquires focus instantly. So if I'm in a really dark setting at night or a dance floor or something like that, that red beam is going to hit someone and it's going to lock focus in a way that's so fast and so like I don't have to ever question that it's not going to hit focus. I have not found in mirrorless that same consistency, and I know like I'm gonna miss some shots when I shoot on mirrorless with the flash and that searching. It's just I will have tons of great shots, but I'm gonna miss certain shots, and it might be the one that I want, where I won't miss it with the other camera. So it's still, that's the only thing. And it's funny that you bring that up, is like everybody had an excuse, you know, to hold on to a DSLR. Oh, you know what, you know, it blackout, you know, on EVF, or you know, it's not as fast on autofocus. Well, mirrorless has starting to surpass, not only catch up, but surpass all the things in DSLR. So it's really, you know, in the next couple of years, that's why people are saying, is the DSLR dead? Yeah, but it probably will, because it just offers you so much more, and it's gonna kill it. Yeah, and you'll have people, like you said, with film cameras that are, oh, nostalgic. Oh, this is a mirrorless. I got this. It's vintage.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, no, I mean, you know, these mirrorless cameras, you know, definitely from Nikon and Canon and whatnot, are still in their infancy, right? They're only second generation or so. So, you know, these issues maybe you're having now with the DSLRs will probably be resolved, I would imagine, in the next few iterations, if not sooner. And then you'll be like, well, now I don't have any reason to keep the DSLR. But, you know, I'd say use the camera that you enjoy using. You know, if you're comfortable with DSLR, continue to use it. If you want to get with the times and go with mirrorless. But yeah,
I mean, look at, you know, look at, I mean, really, there's not a lot of companies still putting their money or time into creating DSLRs. It's all behind their big flagship mirrorless now.
Yeah, you're gonna have those like companies coming out with bucking the trend, you know, like the ones who still support Polaroid and, you know, make Polaroid cameras. They'll be like, I'm gonna make a mirrored camera. Like, okay, good for you, dude. But, you know, maybe a mirrored camera would be good if you're shooting surf photography. I don't know. I've never really shot surf photography before myself. I've shot it from the beach, but, you know, the kind of surf photography where you're capturing it like in the water, you know, and stuff like that. I've never done that in my entire life. I should put that on my bucket list. I just need to be in an area with good surf, you know, to be able to shoot that. But Nikon Australia, in partnership with Surfing Australia, recently announced the winners of their 2021 Nikon Surf Photo and Video of the Year awards. And so it recognized some great stuff here. And, you know, they had some of the folks like Stu Gibson, who gained the title of Nikon Surf Photographer of the Year, and while Spencer Frost claimed Nikon Surf Videographer of the Year. And both shot with the Nikon Z6 II and the 24 to 70 millimeter lens, which I thought was pretty neat. I guess you want that kind of ability to get a little bit closer and as well as extremely wide, but not too wide. But yeah, a lot of great images here. You know, I was primarily struck by the shots that feature motion, because I'm like, you're shooting an object like a surfer who's moving quickly through the wave, but you're still getting the motion blur of the wave. And that's kind of like, I'm amazed by what they've been able to do. Any particular shots that you liked from this series?
Well, first and foremost, yeah, you got to get out there, and you know, what a better place to spend the day, you know, in the water and the sun and the beach, and you know, around people surfing. It's a great time. Sometimes I take a trip out to Montauk, where there's a great point out there near the lighthouse, where in Long Island, in New York, and just shoot the surfers, and it's just so much fun, you know. It's great, and it looks like from a lot of the photos here, and you said that a lot of them were shooting with the 24 to 70, which is not a, you know, a power zoom. That means they are out in the water with you know, they're probably these, you know, in housing and shooting these images, and they're fantastic images. They're really beautiful. Some of these images, you know, with the, you know, the break and the people surfing the tube and in the tube, and they're really amazing photos. They're gorgeous photos. And you know, I would have to say must be some because there's some overhead. It looks like a drone shot. I don't know if they put
Yeah.
a Nikon on a drone or something like that, but there are some of these night surf photos too, with the stars in the background and the lit up wave and stuff like that. There's some perspectives there that are shot in these. They're really, really cool photos, and this is a great series. I would say check it out because I mean, they talk about contest winners. There really are some amazing contest winners in these. There's one where the person is completely under the surfboard and the surfboard is flying overhead, and it's just an incredible shot. It's such a cool shot.
That's the moment. Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
You said you've shot some surf photography. Have you gotten into the waves and shot like the?
No, I'm one of those people shooting with a bigger zoom, 200 or something, than a 300 or something, and shooting from the shore.
Okay.
But yeah, I guess that I never wanted to be getting in the way. I'd probably get hit by a surfboard or something.
Yeah. So it comes with the territory, risk of
the
job.
Now the drones, you can send the drone out there and stuff like that. It's like, there's so many ways to capture it. From safe dry land where I can have a beer and a hot dog.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I do wonder how the surf photographers get those shots, though. Because how do you capture the shot without yourself getting swept up in the wave? Are you weighed down? Do you have a weight attached to you? How are you doing that? Have you seen them do that, or are they just waiting in the water? I mean, have you seen that?
Well, you have a couple different. A lot of people shoot from land.
Okay.
Or a dock or something like that, and then you do have people out there that are shooting, and there's 5 million different ways. Some are on another surfboard, some are actually in the water, some are on jet skis. I mean, there's so many different ways people are on these capturing. It's really kind of what works for you.
Right.
But yeah, sometimes you have those ones that are out there in the water and waiting for the wave to break, and they'll go under the water and back up, and there's stuff that is in a underwater housing unit.
Right.
It's cool. But talking about shooting these type of things, you need a zoom lens a lot of times, and you know what, is there one zoom lens to rule them all? And what would you choose? I know recently a Nando Harmonson wrote an article talking about zoom lenses and how versatile it is, and a lot of people are on that thing. It's like, oh, I only shoot primes. But I got to tell you, it's like, for the reason people said they shoot primes, they were like, they're much sharper than zooms. Like, that's not the case anymore. These new zoom lenses, some of them are sharp, if not sharper than some primes, and they allow you that ability to really just carry one lens. Sometimes I know when I'm traveling, I'm going to miss a shot if I have to, oh, where's my 85? Where's this? I'm going to switch it and put it on. And if one of my favorite travel lenses is a 24-105. It's a great lens. And if you had to choose one, are you a zoom person? If you had to choose one, what would you choose?
I would choose a 1:1000 f.95, obviously.
Well, who wouldn't?
Well, it's
of
funny,
course, that one is so big, you need a duffel bag just to carry it.
Actually, I mounted it to my car. That's the only way I can shoot.
Oh, that's smart. That's smart.
It's
like a turret.
It's on the hood of my car, roof of my car. Well, I will. I'll go with the author of the article and back their choice, which is the 24-105 f4 that I use for my Canon. And that's not necessarily because I don't like swapping lenses. I do. I mean, before I had my R5, I had the GH5, and I had about half a dozen lenses. But what I've discovered is what I'm using my camera for nowadays primarily is just family stuff, right? I'm out and about. We're going to a museum. We're going to a park. I'm trying to manage making sure these two boys aren't running into the streets and running off cliffs, and I have to carry bags with me and deal with a billion other things. I don't have time to be swapping lenses. I'm trying to be as versatile as I can with the one lens as possible. And I tell you, the 24-105 gets you 95% of the way there in terms of what you're trying to do. Like, I can do nice close-ups.
I'm very torn between the 24-105 and a 24-70 2.8. Yeah. Just because that 2.8 really I do shoot a lot at night. I do shoot in certain areas that need that extra opening, right? So, and let the light in. So that's a tough one. But I mean, that 24-105, just that extra 70-105, the zoom range is amazing. It's absolutely great. And I never expected to buy one, but I was out on a Sony Kando trip, and they graciously have everything that you could possibly have to try there. And I'm like, let me just try that 24-105. And when they handed it to me, I'm like, oh, I asked for the 24-105. I thought they were handing me a smaller lens. And I looked at it, I'm like, oh, it is the 24-105. It was light, it was fast, it was sharp. I'm like, I love this lens. And what happened? I bought it. And it's one of my favorite lenses. If I'm traveling, that is the one, because it just allows me such diversity. You go 24 to shoot a landscape, to 105 to shoot a cool portrait, and that f4 at 105 you can get beautiful bokeh. You can get that wonderful, creamy, out of focus background. It's just a really diverse, fantastic lens. And I know the Canon one is fabulous as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a dream to use. And yeah, I like I said, that little bit of extra range means more to me. Excuse me. That little bit extra range means more to me than a little bit of extra aperture. And I'd say that only because this particular generation, I'd say a generation ago, I would have agreed with you, the 2.8 is far more valued than the range because of the lower ISOs, that were in most cameras. But nowadays, not only are cameras able to get higher ISOs, but they're able to manage those higher ISOs better. That shooting at a little bit of higher ISO and a little bit darker environment, definitely is something.
And image stabilization in camera, on sensor, and it's just like, it's pretty incredible. It's like you kick up the ISO and drop your shutter speed just a touch, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, another advantage of those mirrorless cameras is the more stops of shutter, vibration and whatnot that you can get. And like I think you get 7 stops of IBIS in your the Canon R5 with the RF lens, so that's great. I'd say the second or the runner up to that would probably be the 16 to 35. Like I think I would prefer and use a wider angle lens more so than a zoom lens, although I love the 7200. And of course, if I had the Trinity, I'd love that. But I would go wide before I would go close. But I think you would probably go close before you go wide because you're shooting mostly portraits, right? Or am I wrong?
I'm all over the place. I mean, when I'm traveling, I love to shoot the landscapes and all that kind of stuff. And and environmental portraits too need a wider lens. But if I'm shooting, some portraits in fashion or something like that, I tend to use a 85 or a 135 or a 70-200 or absolutely.
Yeah, and I will say I did buy one other lens, the 50 millimeter 1.8. So I do have that ability to get that low light shots and stuff if I need it. Great lens. Yeah. So sometimes I'll just throw that on and that'll be my walk around. I will embrace the limitations.
It's funny. The 50 is the most natural, equivalent to what the eye see. But it tends to be not the focal length I choose to shoot most of the time. I'm either at 35 or 85 in that range. I kind of skip over the 50 all the time. I don't know why, but I just, something about the 35 or 85 are probably the, if I talking about primes, those are especially my favorite and sweet spots for me.
Yeah, more often than not, I wish I had the 35 millimeter because I'm usually just in a scenario where I need width over depth. But anyways. Well, that's I think that's going to bring us to the end of this week's show.
Yeah, I know we're going to have a lot of great stuff to talk about in the future because there's lots of rumors about new Canon cameras and Sony cameras and minimal updates and big updates to some cameras that are coming out. So we'll have a lot to talk about in months and weeks to come.
Great. I'm excited. And I'll be able to talk to you from the United States. Who knows? Maybe we'll actually get to see each other in person.
Do a show in person. Yep.
I know, right? I don't mind hanging up to New York, or maybe you can come down to DC.
I have no problem coming to DC. I was just there recently and had a fabulous time. And I love that they have all these kind of electric bikes and scooters everywhere, and you can kind of just jump around and leave the bike and jump another one. It's a cool town, and it's been a long time since I've been there. And I went there, wanting to go to Air and Space Museum because they have all kinds of stuff that I want to go back and visit since I haven't been there as a kid. And I think they even have some Star Wars X-Wing fighters there that they're getting ready to put up stuff. Nice. But it was closed because of the pandemic when I was just there, about a month ago. So I have a full reason I want to get back.
All right. Well, if you're ever in the area, let me know. We'll hook up and hang out.
Yes.
All right. Well, Travis, thank you so much for your time. This has been Around the Lens in a Flash. I'm David J. Murphy.
I'm Travis Keys.
And we're bouncing.
We're bouncing.